Okay, so the Moon Knight episode, title of episode 1 of Moon Knight is the goldfish problem, not goldfish in a blender, like I thought.
Okay.
Which, again, would make sense.
The poster was a goldfish in a blender, and there is a goldfish in a blender.
Oh, right,
in the episode, yeah.
I thought, goldfish in a blender would have been a fine title as well.
That's a great way to transport a fish.
I guess.
Like that, yeah. I mean, if you don't have, like, a fish bag.
No, yeah.
That's, like, a portable, like, sealable container, like, I guess Tupperware.
Yeah, so, episode 1 came out last night, 3 a.m., or this morning. Did you stayed up?
I stayed up until 2:30, and then I fell asleep, and then I watched it at 5.
Nice.
Okay. I woke back up.
So, yeah, this is the introduction of a new character in MCU.
Mm-hmm.
He is dissociative... what is it?
Dissociative identity disorder.
Correct. And do you want to start with your thoughts, or you want me to start?
Yeah, I can give my I loved it. I mean, you can go on the channel, the TikTok, the Instagram right now. I mean, my short review is on there. I didn't give it like a star rating or anything. I would give it like a solid 4 out of 5 or 4.5 out of 5, maybe a 5 out of 5. I thought it was great. I really think, it really did remind me of like early MCU stuff, because it's like, it's just you just start with following this guy, and then you realize that there's some like crazy stuff going on, and then by the end of it, it's like a superhero. Like I saw somebody tweeted, they were like, somehow the first episode of Moon Knight literally felt like like a Phase 1 MCU movie crammed into 45 minutes, like perfectly, not like badly crammed in. It was like you took me from just a regular guy working in a gift shop to me 1000% anchored in my belief that this guy has this Egyptian god in him that he turns into this, superhero. Like you took me on that journey so satisfyingly in 40 or whatever minutes it was. And I think the biggest thing with that is Oscar Isaac. I mean, he's incredible. Like, I mean, Oscar Isaac in general is fantastic, but he is incredible in this show. Like, he is so good as this character and as the different versions of this character. And when you first hear Mark's voice in Steven's head, and you're like, oh my God, it's Oscar Isaac. Yeah, you're like, you literally have that. And I think that was so smart. I think the conceit too, to just start us off from Steven's perspective, was great too, because then it's like we're kind of gonna learn about Mark through Steven's eyes, even though technically Mark is who he is. Like, Mark is the actual person. I think that's like great, and I like that what they did with playing with reflections, and the voices in their head, like with both F. Murray Abraham as like Khonshu in his head, and with Mark in his own head type of thing. I thought that was really, really good. And there's also just like so many little things that just I really enjoyed about this. And also one thing that I will say that has been a big topic amongst film fans and MCU fans and stuff is like the color grading and how some of these films have looked lately. And I know a lot of people were looking forward to Doctor Strange 2 because it looks like it's shot so well and like the colors look real. How people were complaining like that, like with the green screen stuff, like there's like almost like a gray like tint to everything in No Way Home. Like, yeah. Right off the bat in this, I was like, wow, this looks shot. This is like incredible. The lighting in this. That's another thing too, is that I read that this is the first MCU show that was obviously still shot in a pandemic. We're still in a pandemic now, but this was the first one that did not have any restrictions on it aside from mask wearing and testing. Like, they didn't have to do a bunch of stuff with a green screen to pick up a bunch of stuff. Like, they didn't have to do a limited crew. Like, this was, and I feel like you can tell that. Like, when he is in London, he is in London. Like, they shot this on London streets in the real world. A lot of it is on location. I would say it seems like almost all of it is on location, aside probably his apartment is a set, I would assume.
Oh yeah, probably.
But that's just like, I mean, it's an apartment. But like everything outside felt 100% real. Even when he wakes up in like the Swiss Alps or whatever, wherever he is, or in I think they say that it's in Germany, like that you can tell is real. Like they're really there, and I don't know. I just really like the look of it. And I thought like the sound design was great, and I really liked still had that classic Marvel use of soundtrack, like "Wake Me Up Before You Go," and like the big
I love
the big
soundtrack.
car chase like scene like was great, and then opening up with like the Bob Dylan song, which apparently was Ethan Hawke's choice. Like he wanted that song because he thought that it really like spoke to the character, which I thought was great. All the kind of messing around with time where, I love the way that they're showing it, where we're not like, you could do it in a way, and it might not be bad, but this is more interesting to me. You could do it in a way where it's just, he's Steven and then he goes, oh, and then he's Mark. But it's like the fact that, at least for now, we're just seeing Steven, and then Steven like fades out, and then when he wakes up again, hours, days, he doesn't even know how long has passed. Yeah. It's almost like Steven, feels like he's like almost time traveling, like, because he's like, when he goes to the restaurant, he thinks it's Friday.
Yeah,
but that
was tough.
It's been he's like, when he was like, what day is it? And he was like, it's Sunday, sir. And he went, no. that was great. But I did like also just a little subtle hint of the fact that he ordered a steak at the end. It's like already we're seeing like that Steven is kind of like starting to like break a little bit from like where he is, because they say that he, like, why would you go to a steakhouse?
Oh,
you're
right, you're yeah.
But and then at the end he's
I thought they said she's a vegan. No, he's the vegan.
Yeah,
okay.
That's why when he orders the steak, he's like, what do you want? And he's like, the best one. And he's like, how do you like it? And he's like, very, very good.
Very
I like
good.
it. I like it very good.
They said so well done.
Yeah, and he's like, so well done. That like, I like that it's like you can already tell that like. Steve, like his life is like beginning to deteriorate already. But yeah, I really loved it.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good, and I really loved Ethan Hawke.
Yeah. I'm same page as you. I'll just say real quick, I gave it 4.5 out of 5, and the only reason is because I thought some of the CG looked very bad. Like specifically the car chase. The cars really? I thought looked not good, and like when the logs are falling, like I thought that looked really bad. But other than that, I loved everything about it. I loved like, just getting thrown in and this guy. Well, first of all, the beginning shot with Ethan Hawke stuffing this glass into his shoes and him walking away, and you hear like the crunch, like, oh my god, what the it's like what the hell's going on here? But just you get thrown in with this character who is. He has one leg like wrapped around a post, and he has the sand in front of his bed, and it's like, what is going on? His door is
like taped. And
stuff, right. And then you see like a little later, like he throws in the garbage, and there's like a bunch of tape, and it's like, well, clearly he just does this every night. Yeah, I thought Ethan Hawke was great. I thought it was really interesting how, like you said, like he kind of starts to lose it at some points, and then it's like comes back. And like, for example, when he has the brooch thing in his hand, it's like all bloodied around. He's like, what the, what just happened? I loved the reveal of Moon Knight at the end. I thought that was fantastic. Like the monster chasing him, he breaks in, and then the monster is trying to crawl his way out. Yeah. And he pulls him back.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Yeah.
And just like,
I mean, ever since that first trailer where there's that, actually, going back almost over 6 months, that was the first. Remember the leaked clip? That was him in the bathroom. Was him, right. The final shot of this episode was him walking towards the camera. That the final shot of this episode was the first leaked image of Moon Knight in general, and it still looks great. Yeah, looks even better now that it's fully finished.
I'm very intrigued by this like cult that Ethan Hawke seems to be in charge of.
I'm so in on by
all
of
his tattoo, where he balances between if you are, if the future, present, past, if you're worthy or something like that. And then, like when that one lady, she judges her and. She's deems like, not worthy. She just falls to the ground, drops dead.
She's like, I've done everything right. And he's like, well, I guess maybe one day you'll do something bad.
Yeah.
I guess we'll never know.
Yeah.
And it's like,
and I've seen a lot of Minority Report,
Mm-hmm.
like just people being like Minority Report. I've seen Fight Club, which I don't get the Fight Club reference.
Well,
maybe
like split personality.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
right,
like
yeah,
Tyler Durden or whatever.
Yeah, good point. But that whole thing with like his kind of split personality and him, because I was reading a little bit on Wikipedia, like what that like kind of what that can do to a person, what that disorder, what that means and everything. And there's mention of like kind of having like chunks of time just like missing.
Mm-hmm.
So like I think that's a big part of like him showing up on a Sunday, and it's like I thought it was, isn't it Friday?
Yeah,
and it's like, well, no. You mentioned like the keys and the phone that he finds in the rafters in his apartment.
Yeah, like Mark's like little stash in his
and
like
he's like calling and they're like, well, I thought you were dead.
Yeah.
Like it was like 100 missed calls. And like, who is this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it's like, Mark, what is that stupid accent you're
Yeah.
doing? And I think like, to me, like the thing that I think Oscar Isaac is just like, and something that I think is really, really cool about the character to show really about like the personalities and stuff. Like, I think, and Oscar Isaac said this, like the accent, like you'll get it when you watch the show.
Mm-hmm.
To me, like, again, like I think to me, Mark is like the main, like the main personality.
Like on the birth certificate, it's
right.
Mark
It's
Spector.
Mark Spector.
Like that's
and then
who
like
it is.
Steven, like he's this
like creation.
He's this,
almost.
In his mind, right?
Yeah.
But like the accent is that way because that's not his accent.
Yeah.
Like he's doing it because that's what his personality is
like
in his mind.
in the comics, it's almost like the Joker. I mean, it's not really. Right. It's not really. I just mean in the sense of they keep it ambiguous.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've never definitively said. Just like with the Joker, they never definitively say what his origin is. Like they never definitively say in the comics whether he was born with DID and then Moon Knight just became one of them, or if he got DID because of Khonshu and Moon Knight.
Because in the original run, isn't he just multiple identities and not personalities, I believe?
Yeah,
like he has like a rich one, and he has like
the original basis of this character was it still had to do with like Egyptian gods. That's where he got his power, but it wasn't like he was had the god in his head. It was just he was just like got these powers from this Egyptian magic type stuff.
Because I think he was dead. He was in the original run.
He was basically just Batman.
Yeah,
like originally it was just, but instead of having Bruce Wayne and then like Playboy Bruce Wayne and then Batman, he had Moon Knight, and then he had Mark Spector, who was like this like mercenary. Stephen Graham in the comics is like he's like the Bruce Wayne Playboy type, where he's like the gets dressed up and goes out to
Isn't
like
one
the
of them like a
galas and
racer
stuff.
or something?
Yeah, there's like because in the comics he has 3 and then Moon Knight, but in this I think at least so far they're going with it's basically just Stephen Mark Khonshu is in his head, and then Moon Knight. But either way, it's great. I want to ask you some theories on this, because I think there's a lot of great wiggle room, because I feel like we have to appreciate the fact that when was the last time we fully just dived into something that was brand new to the MCU?
I know, it's been a while.
And actually, has it been Eternals and Shang-Chi? But those,
that's true.
but those like heavily relied on the Avengers and all that, all that stuff. Like they talked about the Avengers, and spoilers, the Avengers are in Shang-Chi at the end, in the post credits. So, but this just it just feels different. It just feels. I would say this I most equate with like Doctor Strange. Like I feel like Doctor Strange was the last time we really got this movie where we go from just regular person to, by the end of it, superhero, and you understand that journey.
Mean, they kept calling him Steven. I just kept thinking Doctor Strange. Like
I know there's two. I know there can only be 2 Steves at a time. So like when Rogers left, so now we can bring in Moon Knight. But because we know so little, I feel like there's so much room to like speculate about stuff. So when we see him turn from Steven into Mark and then into Moon Knight.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that is physically happening? Like, do you think that he actually physically is being wrapped in these things and then the Moon Knight costume just forms around him? Or do you think that that's just in his head and it's just him beating it up? Because we have no way to know.
That'd be pretty wild. Like, if he's just... Because, like, he has... But the thing with that is, though, like, he has, like... You see in the trailer, like, he has, like, weapons. He has, like, the whole parachute type thing. You know what I mean?
What I'm thinking is, I think possibly once he becomes more accepting of it, I think maybe he has a physical suit, too.
Yeah, maybe.
That he's like, all right, I'm going to Moon Knight now.
Maybe,
you know,
yeah.
But, I just think it's so interesting that we don't know.
I think it's definitely a possibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find it really... I do find the whole, like, kind of possibility of it being in his head type thing interesting, even though I don't really think... Because at the end of the day, like, he still has to be, like... You know, he still has to be Moon Knight,
yeah.
I feel like. So I feel like it'd kind of be hard to have it be in his head, but, you know, like, is it hard to believe that he's just a regular person just doing all this stuff? But you know what I mean?
Well, because I only wonder that because throughout the episode... when Steven fades out, it's always when violence is about to happen.
Right.
And then he comes back and everybody's dead or or something's different. And my thing is, like, specifically when the mercenaries are closing in on him and in the street and then he, like, fades out and then he comes back and his hands are covered in blood and they're dead. Like, did Mark do that? Or did Moon Knight do that? We have no idea yet.
Yeah.
And if Moon Knight did it, like, did somebody just watch him turn into Moon Knight and then turn back into this guy?
Mm-hmm.
Or what, like, you know what I mean? Like, how does that work? I think that'll be very interesting
to see. And we only have 5 more episodes to kind of explain it. But I'm interested in, like, so the thing that is walking down the hall to the elevator, is that the voice in his head? That's Khonshu.
Yeah.
Voiced by F. Murray Abraham, by the way. Which, real quick, I mentioned this. You're like, I immediately got Venom vibes when I heard the voice. Just the whole kind of, like,
you say tomato,
and
I say.
I still think it's kind of hard to do. Like, I'm listening to, and F. Murray Abraham, great actor, but, like, in my head, I'm still thinking, like, oh man,
Salieri.
I'm just still thinking, like, oh man, Tom Hardy, like, with this voice, like, it's just immediately where my mind goes to. I'll probably get used to it.
Maybe if Moon Knight and Venom ever meet up in one of the movies, they can bond over it.
Maybe,
you know?
Yeah. I think it's hard to, like, get that, have a voice that is not the actor playing the character, and have, like, somebody else's voice in it and have it sound right. I feel like it never sounds right.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what you do to fix that or anything.
But too, I want to touch on too. I love that Khonshu's he has no use for Steven.
Right.
Like when Steven wakes up in the field, and I love that too. By the way, the first time it happens when he falls asleep and then he wakes up and he's in the field, laying down, and you realize most likely Mark just jumped out of that window. But Steven wakes up and he's like, his jaw's dislocated.
Oh yeah.
And and then you hear Khonshu and he's like, oh great, the idiot's awake. Go to sleep. He's like, I can't do anything with you. Like, I thought that was hilarious that he's like, no, like, bring Mark back. I can't do anything with this. Like, I thought that was really, really funny. And so I think that's another kind of like journey that we're gonna get, is like Khonshu learning to, finding whatever value Steven might have to the whole thing, because I think that, like, that's kind of the interesting thing too, is that, you know, kind of in one body we could have like 3, you know, character journeys with Steven, Mark, and then also Khonshu, like, learning to, you know, cohabit, because right now it seems like Khonshu's really just using Mark, which is a big thing in the comics, is that it's like, okay, you gave me these abilities, but you're making me do all these things that you want to do with them, you know, not necessarily sometimes what I want to do with them. Like, you know, because there's times where Moon Knight just fights crime or whatever, but then most of the time it's Khonshu, you know, making him or telling him to do things. So I feel like, you know, a good place to end the show would be like to hopefully have them all on somewhat of the same page. You know.
I agree, because then you kind of...
Because right now it seems very dysfunctional.
No, yes,
considering
most
one
definitely.
didn't know the other two existed.
Yeah, what do we think, like, I'm very intrigued by Ethan Hawke's kind of, his character's role, and I think his name's Arthur. I think it's in the subtitles.
Hallow. Or Hallow, or whatever. Harrow, sorry.
Okay. Arthur Harrow.
Arthur Harrow.
And I have no background. I don't know if you have any background on him as a character.
No, he's like he's a very like minor character who they made a lot of changes to, which was that's another thing that really makes me excited for this, is how much Ethan Hawke and Oscar Isaac were able to I don't know if you know this, but like Oscar Isaac just like asked Ethan Hawke if he wanted to do it.
Oh, really?
Like he was at,
well, we know Ethan Hawke was usually not a fan of comic book things, right?
And I was not, and I've said this to you and on here. I was like, I don't want Ethan Hawke in a Marvel thing because he talked bad about. I think he's fantastic. Yeah. I really think that he's great. Right off the bat too. But yeah, Ethan Hawke was saying like, it was like during COVID, like during like the lockdown where they were only they were only letting like one person in the restaurant at a time or whatever. So he was like, it was in New York and we were just I was going to get coffee. And then he was like, somebody came up to me who I realized was Oscar Isaac. And he was telling me about this Marvel thing that he was doing. And he was just like, you'd be really great to play the villain in it. He's like, would you ever want to do something like that? And Ethan Hawke was like, he kind of like lightly touched. He was like, and he was like, I don't know how I felt about that. But then he was like, the more I thought about it, he was like, I feel like, and I believe he was like, I feel like when things like that happen in life, it's a sign to act on it.
Yeah, like he's also not big on being villains, if I'm incorrect on that.
Well, this in
because like he's Black Phone. He's like, I think that's like his first, like one of his first times being like the bad guy. And I thought I heard that he like doesn't like to do that in movies, but I could be wrong.
But yeah, he's fantastic in this.
Yeah.
But what was the other thing I was gonna say about Ethan Hawke? So like So that's cool, like how he got cast, but then also like making Steven British, like Oscar was able to do that. Like they were able to put a lot into it, and almost all like the religious stuff and like the smashing of the glass and stuff, that was all Ethan Hawke's idea. Like because in the comics he does like worship Amet and stuff, like that's still in there, but he's more of like oh yes, and then my corporation will take over things, and then we'll have Amet will rule the world, and I'll be the avatar for it, and I'll be like
good Avatar references, by the way. Even though Avatar: The Last Airbender is not really an anime.
Yeah, but I get it. It's because it's like I feel like if they had said cartoon, people would be like, "Oh, it's a cartoon, is it?"
Yeah,
yeah, but it's I get what they were going for.
Did Ethan Hawke summon that creature, or is that in his head, or what do we think? That creature that chased him into that room.
I don't know, because
I don't know if that was real.
Because
that looked good, by the way. I like the way that looked.
I feel like there's a chance that we're gonna find out that just like Khonshu is in Mark's head, that Amet is actually in Harrow's head. Yeah. Like, so maybe it was Harrow that maybe just like Khonshu can bring forth Moon Knight in Mark, like maybe Amet can actually conjure beings or beasts or whatever in the real world. So maybe that's
oh
we'll
yeah,
find
maybe
out. Yeah, because he doesn't strike me as somebody who has it's not really magic, but powers. I don't know, what do you call them?
But he has that whatever thing that he's doing with his arm.
Yeah, he does have. Yeah.
So I don't know what that.
But yeah, like I feel like that's probably what we'll find out, is that like Amet actually, like, because when he was talking about the Avatar, that's what he was saying was because Moon Knight is Khonshu's avatar. Because what does he say? He was like, Amet was betrayed by her own avatar. So I think that probably the show, in the Marvel formula, if it's going to follow it, I would say the show will probably end with Ethan Hawke fully becoming Amet's new avatar, and then they'll probably have like a physical fight, because right now Moon Knight would probably pulp Ethan Hawke's head in.
Oh, yeah.
So I think Ethan Hawke's going to need to have a little bit of a power up if they're going to go like toe to toe at the end of the show. But yeah, I mean, I just think it's so cool, and I love this. Like, I mean, you think like you're like, oh wow, Egyptian gods exist in the MCU, and it's like, well, we found out that all of Norse mythology is true 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, if Norse gods are real, why not, Egyptian gods? And then in the comics, God is real, like with frickin' Living Tribunal, or a whole bunch of different figures have basically assumed God, like, and when I say God, I mean like Catholic, like Christian sense of God has been in the comics before. So is Santa Claus. So anything's on the table, and I think that's why I love this so much, is because it feels like it's just such down to basics, and I also think it really looks great. I think the costume looks fantastic. I mean, even just in our own thumbnail there, like look, like that costume that is just such a great. I mean, that is a perfect screen adaptation of that costume.
And I think it's a great mystery. It's just like, what is,
and we haven't even
what's
seen
real,
Mr.
what's
Knight yet.
We've seen what?
Mr. Knight.
Oh
We
yeah,
haven't even
yeah.
seen
Oh
him
yeah. I
yet.
forgot about, like, there's like the magician and
Yeah.
there's
There's like gonna be so oh